Hey guys, Joe here. Wasn't really planning to do a live, um, but because I have a decent distance to drive, I'm doing this. So I have like 20 minutes to talk. And so, like, the topic, the title of this is like, are you prioritizing like what's most important to your life? So, a lot of times, especially when you're in the heat of things and you're working a ton of hours and everything else, and you're just trying to hold everything together, and because you don't have enough money coming in or enough leads coming in to book enough jobs and all this other kind of stuff, like you start to lose sight of what's most important, right? So there's a saying, I forget exactly what it is. It's basically like, obviously, oxygen is the most important thing that we pretty much need in our life, and we cannot survive without it. But the only time we're concerned about it is like if we don't have any, right? And it's kind of the same with the family and everything else. Like I've seen posts from Wonder Dads, if you haven't seen that, where basically it lists down, like it goes over like the 18 years that you have with your child before like they're 18 and maybe move out or go to college and whatever else. And like I forget the exact figure, but basically for like the first 18 years, like you only have like 6,000 days with them, right? Which starts to hit you hard, especially because like I have a 10-year-old, right? So realistically, in about 8 years, like and it's probably going to be shorter than 8 years, like that. I'm not going to be as involved, right? And because as he gets older, he's going to want to start just being with his friends and that kind of stuff because he's 10 now. So like that's right around the corner, right? So, and there's plenty of times where like before I would work and everything else, and I wouldn't be there for him and everything else. And like I'm home more now, obviously, because I really don't work that much anymore. But like for the fence company, but I'm doing stuff on the side, like doing this kind of stuff and doing shit with the website and some other things. But you know, when he's like, "Can you play?" and sometimes I'm busy. I'm like, "Nah, I can't right now, dude." And then afterwards, like at night, I'm like laying down. And so the point of this whole why this topic's coming up is because my great uncle in the hospital right now. So he was just there a few days ago for pneumonia, but then found out he had blood in his urine, and basically his kidneys aren't functioning supposed to be. And so my plan was I was going to go see him tomorrow, and but then I got a text from my cousin, and he's like, "Yo, he's telling me that like he's gonna not do the dialysis, and like you should go see him." So, and I'm like, "Shit." So I'm just putting it in perspective. Like, there's a chance that like it's not a chance, but at some point, like I'm going to lose him, right? And but then looking back, like he was so involved with my childhood, like he would constantly take me like fishing. The main one was fishing. He would do other stuff as well. Like so, he's my great uncle, right? And so there would be basically I'd always go with my grandmother's. I think it was like on Tuesday nights. I would always go to his house, but at the time he had lived with my great grandmother. So basically, my grandmother would go there to like basically take care of the great grandmother. Obviously, I would talk to her, and then but he would like pretty much always we'd end up going and walk into like this corner store, and like I'd always be able to pick up a toy or whatever. When I was super young. And then, like I said, as I got older, like he had a fishing boat, he would take me all the time, and just a super, just awesome guy. Like do everything, anything for anyone. And but then as time, it's like I just got busy, and it's and then I would realize, all right, I gotta go see him. I gotta go see him. And then like things would happen, and like I think about it again, but then it's like a month later, because like how life is. And then I get these like texts that like he's really not doing good. I'm like, this could be it. I'm like, fuck, like I screwed up, right? And so I'm just basically having this video so that way, hopefully, this stops someone else from missing out on something in the family's life because you're too busy on running your business, right? So if you're in the very beginning, early stages of running your business, there's sacrifices that you got to make. 100%. Like in order to get your business to go where it needs to, there has to be sacrifices in order to do it, right? But as your business gets older and older, you should get smarter and smarter and more efficient than you were the previous day. But I see a lot of contractors, and it's funny how this works, right? So I basically talk to two types of people at this point. Like when people sign up for the Calendly, and if you need help, basically you go to localprohelper.com, and like you'll see the basically click the first button you see. You can schedule a time to talk if you need some kind of advice. Not that I know everything, but like I figured out ways to basically not really work and still make a ton of money. So, but for some people, like they don't want that. But anyway, I talked to like two different types of people, right? And I got, most times I'm talking to contractors that are still installing what they sell. They don't know their numbers. They're only focused on getting leads. They are, it's a short-sighted approach, right? Because they're like, oh, I need to book more jobs, so I need more leads, right? But they don't look at the other stuff that goes into it. They don't think about down the line. It's like, okay, well, what happens when I send you all these leads? Like, what are you going to do now? He's like, well, and they don't know. Okay. Then I talk to the other type of person I talk to is someone that just started a fence company, typically, with no from it a mindset that I had. Okay. Now, when I started my business, I tried figuring out how to install, and I figured the more labor I put in, the more money I'm going to make. And that's true to a certain point. But then what these people realize, and what I realized a few years after starting the business, is it's work. It's how well I can leverage the time of other people. Okay? So you basically have two options. Option A is to work like a dog for the rest of your life. That sucks. Okay? Not only that, but making far less than you should. So basically, you're going to work really hard, you're going to put in a ton of hours, you're going to destroy your body, all for less than $100,000 a year. Okay? The other type of person that comes at this from realizing they are not a contractor, they have a business, and in order to operate a business, you need to have employees, and you need to basically, again, use other people, and not use in a bad way. Some people want the security of being an employee, but that's probably not why you started a business, right? You started your own business to call your own shots and everything else, and you put in all this work, you accept all this risk and liability for what? To work 80 hours a week, to work 60 hours a week, to dig holes all day? Now, that's fine if you enjoy doing that kind of thing, but you do realize you're risking everything. I talked about this in another video about the whole like Keanu Reeves thing, where basically, and like actors and stuff like that, when they're on a movie, there's a no like fucking around clause, like no doing stupid shit clause, like no, you can't go skydiving, no, you can't be like using a motorcycle, no, you can't do like whatever. Now, why are they doing that? Because that actor, without that actor, they don't have a movie. It's the same as a business. The movie is the business, right? So without the actor, the main person, you can have no business. It's the same for you. It is okay to enjoy digging holes and installing fences and stuff like that. That is perfectly okay. But how have you mitigated the risk and the liability of everything falling on you? It makes no sense to me. Like, people don't think like this. They're like, oh, I'm going to be fine. I've talked about it in numerous videos. I went surfing, not even in a tall wave, because I'm just learning out what the hell I'm doing. I got hit by this wave. I go home and my back's a little sore because, like, I don't know if I got slammed into the ground. Like, I'm not sure exactly what happened. Like, I had fun when it happened. Like, honestly, it was a lot of fun. And the next day, I'm like, oh, my wrist is a little tender. So then I go surfing again. And, like, as soon as I try to pop up on the board, I'm like, fuck. Like, it felt like I sprained my wrist. So I gave it a few days, came back, and blah, blah, blah. And it was the same exact thing. Well, that was in August. It's February. I'm still dealing with this. If I was personally responsible for digging the holes and installing the actual fence, I'd have no fence company. I'd be screwed. So what do you do about this? You have to have plans in place. It's fine if you're digging the holes for now for the first few years, if that's what you absolutely need to do. But it's not what you absolutely need to do. There's better options out there. They're called subcontractors. These are people that were employees, more than likely, for someone else, and they decided they wanted to make more money. They want a little bit more responsibility, and because of that, they would like to get paid more. So, and they work for someone else. I have a crew that right now they work for me, and they're talking about going into subcontracting. Why would they do that? Because they're like, well, Joe, what about like raises? Now, for me, the way I pay people, I pay at the top tier. Okay, so they're already making way more than they would anywhere else for any other company. They just are. Like, on average, it's probably $2 to $5 at least more than the top person in my area. Easily. Okay, so I'm already paying at the top limit. So I said, if you want to raise, this is what you can do instead. You can become a subcontractor. I pay the subcontractors more because, one, like, the rate of service is much higher. Number two, I don't have to deal with like workman's comp and everything else. I don't have to deal with the truck, the trailer, the equipment, and everything else. It's basically, as I need people, I bring them in. And when it slows down, like, they have to find other work. So I said, if this is something you're looking for, then you can make more money doing this way. Like, it's probably like 20% more that they could end up making, even after paying all their taxes and stuff. In fact, they would end up making far more than that. So to say that you will not hire subcontractors because they're not your company and blah, 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 you could think that way, and I thought that way too. But you're severely limiting yourself. I was talking to a guy today. His name's Mo. He's down in Florida. For the people that are around him, like, you need to watch out because he's got his shit together and he's just starting out. I'm super excited. He doesn't see it, but I see it. I see it. And people like that are going to be able to take a business. In like a year and a half, he went to $1 million by himself. By himself. It's crazy. Now, people like that can easily go in, and I told him within 2 years, by the end of 2024, there's no reason in my mind that he's not at $3.5 and $4 million a year. It's going to happen. Now, what does that mean for the people around him, the other companies that were around him? There's only so much work, and I'm not saying you got to think limited mindset, right? There's still an abundance of work. But if there's like 1,000 installs that go in that year, well, just throwing out numbers, if originally he was only putting in 100, within 2 years, he's going to be putting in 300 of those installs, like 30% of them. I know it. I see it, if not more, right? So what does that do to your business? Again, if you're still digging the holes and everything else, you were responsible and you have all this liability and risk and everything else in case, because if you get hurt, what's going to happen? Or if you get someone in your family or kids or wife that gets sick and you stop and like take care of them, what are you going to do if you're still digging the holes? You can't split yourself into two. This is where you need to be proactive, even though you don't think that you need this. I am telling you, if you're watching this video, or if you watch this video and you don't take my advice on this, years down the line, if and when you get hurt, if and when you get sick, If and when someone else that you love gets sick and you need to take time away from work in order to take care of yourself or them, you are going to be kicking yourself that you did not take this advice today. I guarantee it. It's going to happen. As you get bigger, and I told Mo this today, as you get bigger, it's not about offense, okay? Think about like when you're investing. When you're investing, if you haven't invested yet and you only have $1,000, just say, to invest in the stocks, like you're not going to be careful with that. Like you're not going to put $1,000 in for some dividend stock that makes 2% a year. Like you're not going to do that. Because why? Well, because 2% of $1,000 is $20. What is that going to do for you? Nothing. So what are you going to do instead? You're going to bet big. Okay? So what does that mean? You would go to stocks and you're going to like basically bet either all of it or half of it on this play. It might make you 20%. And it's fine in the very beginning because you don't have, there's only $1,000 of risk. There's nothing there. But as you make more and more money, as time goes on, as your family gets bigger and everything else, there's no more offense. Not that there's no more offense, but there's way less offense. The wealthy people, they are not concerned about playing offense and trying to make 20% gains. They're not. What are they trying to do? Their number one goal is to not lose money. So they are playing defense, and that's what you need to start doing. You need to look at the potential risk within your business and be like, how do I stop that from happening? You know, as I told him, because I know it's going to happen. Within 2 years, like he's going to triple his business. He's thinking he's going to do 30% a year. No, not with the way he's, not the way he's set up or going to be set up, not with the way of these influx of all these people going down to Florida. That's not the case. And the more and more I think about it, more and more I talk to people, like it's dumb not to do business down there. It's 100% dumb. Wherever there's new construction, it's like I might as well just go out and start talking to people and be like, look, let's grow a business down there. Like, because it's easy. There, North Carolina, South Carolina, like everyone's moving to like the coastal towns and everything else. Like it's just happening. So anyway, what can you do today? And again, so going back to my total. Imagine you have 3 times the leads coming in. Imagine you have 3 times the jobs coming in. Imagine you have 3 times the crews. Imagine you have 3 times the office staff. What do you think could go wrong? What's currently going wrong that when you throw in 3 times more volume, that you're going to have those issues come up 3 times more often? Because like right now, if you're a smaller operation, you're a one-man band and everything else, and you have like 2 issues a week, and you're doing $500,000 a year, what do you think is going to happen when you get to that $2 and $3 million range? Because if you're at 500,000, being at $2 and $3 million is honestly right around the corner. It's not far whatsoever. As long as you basically flip a few switches and make a few adjustments, you could easily go from 500 grand to 2 and 3 million within 2 years. It's 100% possible when you understand key concepts. But the key is, like, at that point, you're starting to play defense, right? Our number one thing that we do all the time, or I do all the time for my business, is when an issue pops up, say, how do we, after I'm done getting pissed off and everything else, when I have time to reflect about it, I'm like, how do I stop that from happening again? You know, we're having issues with install crews and everything else where like the homeowner was supposed to be home and then they had questions about what's going on and everything else. And like there would be issue after issue after issue. Or it's not even like that. Honestly, the way things work, everything's like in waves. So what ends up happening is like everything's going great, and then you have like this little issue. And then like a week later you have another issue. And then in that same week, then a little bit of either the same issue or a little bit bigger. And then next thing you know, like everything just comes piling on at once. It happens. Like it's like waves. We're all connected. Like everything in this earth and universe, it's just all connected. The more and more I look, it's my opinion. I know it sounds crazy, but the way the waves come through, the way the business come through and everything, it's all the same shit. It just is. So again, looking and see, okay, how do I stop this thing from happening? So what did we do? Like, we did checklists, right? So we were doing some checklists. Actually, we started with flags. We put the flags in the ground, and then sometimes the flags were missing. So I'm like, all right, we're gonna spray paint these. And then did that work? No. Like, it would work for the most part, and then something would happen. So then now what we do is we cut little pieces of rebar, a few inches, and hammer it into the ground. Along with that, we have these little safety orange caps that go on top. They're plastic, so it's already in the ground, but I want to be able to see it clearly. So we put all that in the ground. So what happens now? There's no issue. Every single question, like as we do this checklist, they'll, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Don't think whatever you do has to be perfect. Don't think that whatever you do is going to be the magic bullet that takes care of the issue. It's not. But at the end of the day, you're at one end of the field, like figure football, right? You're at the one end of the field, and you have to get to the other end of the field. When they play these games, do they just try to friggin' score a touchdown every time? No. They're strategically moving the ball down the field to get close, so that when they're in scoring position, then they can go for the field goal or for the. So when you're making choose the action that is going to make its effect with the least amount of effort. If you do every decision based on that maximum effort, maximum results, least amount of effort, that will solve most of your problems, or at least move you further down that line. Instead of doing this massive effort, if you had two plays, one's going to get you 5 yards and the other one's going to get you 20 yards. The 5 yard is like you got to run through all these defenders. The other one, you're literally just throwing the ball. What are you choosing? You're choosing the 20 yarder, right? It may work out, it may not work out. So, anyway, I'm almost here. Sorry if I go on these rants, but I do feel very, very passionate. And honestly, I get not annoyed, but it's more of a waste. I feel like a lot of times, and Mo kind of said the same thing. He's like, I go through your stuff and I see your responses in the Facebook groups, and he's like, why would they not listen? Why? It's very simple advice. And I feel like, again, because it's like I'm just talking to the wrong people mostly in the right industry. But the problem, there's a small fraction of people that understand this mindset. The vast majority of people are like I was in the very beginning of business, where I thought I had to do it this hard way. But then what happens, these lines are the craziest thing I've ever seen. They're all set. I can't even tell if I'm in the right spot or not. But it's I did it that way until I realized there's a better way. But now I'm showing you and telling you that there's this better way where there's way less effort, there's way less risk and liability to yourself, to your family, and to your business. And yet people don't even give it a second thought. I understand that the fear of the unknown cripples people. I'm well aware of that. But at least, think about what I'm saying. Write it down on paper, or try it once or twice and see what the hell happens. It's simple. Remember, last comment. There's 4 things we need to do in our business. There's only 4. We need to get leads. We need to book those jobs. We need to produce those jobs. And then we need to know our numbers to make sure we're not running ourselves into debt. That's it. Now, within those categories, there's main categories, there's subcategories, there's things that we have to do within each one, right? It's like a book with the chapters. Obviously, it's not just a book and then the label of the chapter. There's content within that chapter. So there's shit you got to do within each area. What all you have to do is figure out where you are. So on getting leads, are you like, if you're not getting 5 leads a day, you don't have enough leads coming in. You know, for booking jobs, you know, for us, this is a major one. Like, we're booking at 8%. We were. So I'm fixing that, right? But it's not like you fix everything all at once. It's not like I just like, oh, I do this and like everything fixed. No. Again, I'm making decisions that I think that are going to move my business in the right direction. And they have. I went from like a 5.5% closing rate in consultations in January of in 2021 to this year being at 16%. Because I decided to make some changes. But if I didn't make some changes, then I'd be at the same boat. I'd be stuck at $2 million. Did I have a good year? Yeah. Did I make more than 6 figures? Yeah, easily. Did I barely work? Yeah. But there's way more that's on the table. I've put in way too much work, way too much effort, and I know way too much to not be able to profit from that. Like, have you not worked hard enough yet? Like, what's stopping you? And I think a lot of it's mindset, honestly. Most people think that they can only, like, they're only worth so much. Like, I've talked to some of my buddies, same thing, you know, and then with Mo today and everything else. And like, people vastly underestimate how much they're worth. Vastly. You're worth way more than you think you are. Way more. If you think you're only worth $100,000 a year, like, I feel sorry for you. And not in a bad way, but I feel bad that you don't understand your worth. $100,000 doesn't cut it anymore. It's just $100,000 for your family, just barely. If you're in the like South or some lower income area where the expenses are low, maybe. But where I live, $100,000 is not enough. Not for the life I want to live. So anyway, I hope you guys have an awesome day. Don't forget about your family. Make sure you spend time with your kids. Make sure if you're working 80 hours a week, do something about your freaking business so that way you're not working all the goddamn time so your family can actually see you for once. And just being home doesn't count. Being mentally available and being able to actually interact with your family at your full capacity for as much as they deserve from you, that's what it's about. Not just being there. It's if you're going to be home and you can't be fully immersed with them because you're exhausted, like dead exhausted, or you're stressed out about it because you don't have enough money, you're honestly better off not being there with them. You're better off working another 10 hours a week. I'm just being honest. It's how I felt when I was working all these hours, when I was at a job that I hated more than life, and I just hated life. Like, I would go home. It was better for me just not to be there. Think about that. It's better for your kids not to see you than to see you when you're stressed out and upset and dead tired. Just saying. So anyway, I hope you guys make some changes. I really do. For the people that watch this and are really screwed up and the business screwed up and you're working too many hours and everything, I really hope you make some changes. I do. I do. For the people that made the changes, I'm proud of you. I'm glad for you. And I would love to see your results. I would love it because that makes my day. I don't care about the money anymore. I don't care about the fence company. Like, it doesn't do anything for me. I enjoy seeing people transforming their lives. So anyway, have a great day.